Welcome to Ladies Talking Leafs patio season. I'm Chris.
And I'm Sil.
And I just want to say today is a great day to talk Leafs because when I got in the car this morning, what song came on?
Jump.
No. Hall & Oates. You make my dreams come true. And I thought, wow, I thought it's a great day. But we also want to start our show off today just by thanking our YouTube audience in Calgary. Woohoo! They were second in viewership of our YouTube channel, which is amazing. They were second overall last year in 2023, and they continue to be second for the first 6 or 7 months of 2024. So thank you so much, Calgary.
Yeah, that's amazing. Thank you. It would also be amazing for the rest of our audience to also subscribe to our YouTube channel or follow us wherever you listen to our show. More subscriber means more recognition for us as a source for Leaf content, but we are so grateful to everybody who already follows us there. Anyway, we are talking Leafs all summer long with our patio season episodes. And from the time we are recording this podcast, there are only 67 days until Leafs open the season against the Habs. So that's actually very fitting.
Yes.
67.
Yeah.
So hopefully that's another good omen.
Yes, exactly. All right. Another item we want to let you know about quickly is a great offer from BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything online sports betting. Right now, you can receive a 50% free bet of up to $250 on your first deposit to bet on anything from the Olympics, woohoo, go Canada, to baseball, to Formula One racing. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads while the games are being played.
When the game is over, though, you can head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today, betonline.ag, to get in on the action. Use promo code BELIEVE, that's BLEAV, for your 50% bet credit on your first deposit of up to $250. BetOnline, the game starts here. Please gamble responsibly, though. If you or someone you know needs support or advice, you can reach out to Connex Ontario or an organization near you. Place your limits and stay within it.
So a couple of updates related to the NHL's Four Nations Face-Off that's going to take place from February 12th to the 20th, 2025. For Leaf fans, a familiar face has been added to Team Canada's management group, our friend Kyle Dubas. Dubas was named the director of player personnel, and Tampa's GM, Julien Brisebois, was named assistant GM for the tournament. And as well, they're both going to have those same roles for the 2026 Olympic team. Also, 4 assistants will join head coach John Cooper. That's Bruce Cassidy from Vegas, Peter DeBoer from Dallas, Rick Tocchet from the Canucks, and Misha Donskov, who's currently an assistant coach with the Dallas Stars. That's the only interesting one that I thought of that was interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. All right. Another bit of news from earlier in July was the hiring of Jessica Campbell as an assistant coach. Campbell is the first ever female to hold a full-time coaching position on an NHL bench. So congratulations to her. That's really incredible, and we hope to see more of that. Campbell was previously an assistant coach with Seattle's AHL team, the Coachella Valley Firebirds. All right, so now it's time to get into this episode, and we're going to start off with our patio season Leaf Talk, and then we're going to run a fun patio season edition of the Ladies Talking Leafs highlight reel that you won't want to miss. And then for a third period segment, we're going to talk about a few of the big changes that we will see for the NHL coming up for the 2024-25 season. So without any further ado, let's talk Leafs.
All right. So it's August now, but way back in July, from July 3rd to the 7th, Leafs development camp was held. There were 46 players invited, 27 forwards, 15 defensemen, and 4 goaltenders. And Haley Wickenheiser, the Leafs assistant GM of player development, and her staff oversaw the camp. So, what I liked too was they also had Shane Doan, Nick Andropov, Jake Muzzin, and Patrick O'Sullivan mentoring the prospects off the ice. I like to see that. And Jake Muzzin had apparently he always has a real effect on all the players there with all of his experience being a cup winner and that. So that was great.
To me almost the thing that impressed me the most is when I heard that, I was really excited about that. And I thought, how lucky for these players to have these guys with this experience, they're motivating them and helping them.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, obviously Fraser Minton and Easton Cowan were the two main players that everyone is constantly talking about. But was there anyone else that you marked that gave an impression at all?
Yeah, like there's three guys actually that stood out by all accounts. I think Ben Danford actually, even though like a lot of people were kind of poo-pooing that pick, he made actually a really big impression at the camp. And, even, you mentioned Cowan, Cowan backed up the scouting report on Danford and noted his shot blocking prowess, and so that's actually a cool thing. Another guy that really impressed, I think, is that Miroslav Holenka. Haley Wickenheiser really praised his abilities and noted that his experience as a professional is already apparent. So he's a guy that, I think he's going back to Czechia this year still, but I think he's a guy that we might see sooner than later. And another person I think that they really like, is Victor Johansson. First of all, he's got a really great personality. Everyone seems to really like him. But I also heard that Wickenheiser is actually going to Sweden to meet with him to, I guess, set a plan for his development. So I think they're hoping that he gets a little bit bigger, body wise and stronger. But I think those three guys are guys that really impressed. Anybody else that you heard about that you want to mention?
The two of them were, I guess the one that we've been waiting for quite some time. We've mentioned him a few times, is Topi Niemela. Apparently he apparently is NHL ready, which led to
good news,
which led to the belief that possibly that's where a trade could happen with Timothy Liljegren because of if Liljegren ends up being a third pairing defenseman, from what they're saying, his contract value is too much for being a third pairing defenseman. And if this Topi Niemela is ready, then it could be, a replacement for that. Who knows?
I wonder if Liljegren has heard some of that, because, by all accounts, he has been training really hard this summer and he is supposedly in the best shape of his career. So,
okay.
Yeah, like that kind of, thing, when you've got competition that way is always a good thing. So, I guess it'll all hinge on how things go in camp, for Niemela and as well for Liljegren, right? So, seems to me like Liljegren wants to make, a little bit of a jump and, a statement as well, basically
to finally to show us that what we've been wanting to see for a couple of years now. But, Niemela I was actually surprised, because for the amount of time, like the articles I read too, like the amount of time Leaf fans have been talking about this kid, he's only 22 years old, and last year was his first year in the AHL playing professional hockey. So I guess it's just because we've heard his name so long, going back to Finland too, right? So
he's been playing with men for a long time, like since he was 18, and also in Finland. So, and also on the national teams, he's always a name that you hear. He's always in with the important plays and stuff. So, so we've been hearing about him a lot. I guess sort of the same thing could be said for Liljegren. I think people are, a little bit wary of him and, wanting him to take a step. He's probably getting to the point where you really need to make a statement that way, but he's been here since he was 18 too. So it feels like, he's been here for so long, but he's really not that old either.
Yeah. Yeah. And the, I guess, upside is that Topi Niemela does have the right shot. as well, which is
exactly
what every team in the NHL seems to want. So yeah. And then the other guy that gave an impression, I guess, was Nick Moldenhauer, the forward. He apparently caught some eyes. He was playing alongside Easton Cowan, I believe, or had some, I guess, time beside him on the wing. And it was he also impressed a little bit. So yeah, overall it seemed to be. I mean, Fraser Minton, he apparently surpassed that Roni Hervonen, I think is how you pronounce it, if I pronounce that right, who also has been talked about for a few seasons now, along with Topi Niemela as prospects. But Fraser Minton apparently has surpassed him, I guess, on the forward group list for his expectations of getting to the NHL. So you never know.
We know that Minton has said that his goal is to make the team this year. So he feels like he's ready. So we'll see. And it's going to make for, an exciting camp that way. I think for Leaf fans, this will be one of the seasons that we are really looking for some people to make that leap to the big club, because Lord knows we need it. We want to see some of that development coming to fruition and playing, a more, important role on the big club. So with that, I guess, we're going to move on to talking about management a little bit. We saw the departure of Wes Clark as the Leafs director of scouting. Clark joins his buddy Kyle Dubas in Pittsburgh with a nice, cushy little promotion as well to VP of player personnel. But the Leafs wasted no time filling the vacancy and hiring Mark Leach, formerly an assistant with Dallas, as their new director of amateur scouting.
Yeah. What I wonder actually about this is, they should have just let him go last year. I mean, maybe. Obviously the way...
Although we wouldn't have maybe the two great picks that we do have. Although, we'll talk about Leach in a second, but
I mean, because I didn't realize they're actually, Wes Clark and Kyle Dubas are connected from the Sioux, the famous Sioux Greyhounds.
Duh.
Yeah, no, I should have came to me, knock on. But because Dubas was the GM of the Sioux Greyhounds, while Clark was the director of player personnel. So they definitely are connected, and
Dubas is loyal if you can give him that.
Well, yeah, and that's I guess Wes Clark had a post on X that kind of insinuated this whole loyalty aspect of it. So yeah. Anyways, we put our trust in Wes Clark. We said that during, I guess, before the draft, and now we're putting our trust in Mark Leach, who,
I mean, I have to give Wes Clark some credit. It's not like he worked for the team, with integrity right up until the end. So,
for sure. Yeah. And Mark Leach, I guess the hiring behind that was, I guess he was with the Dallas Stars organization for 11 seasons. And if you look at I'm not going to go through them, but if the audience there wants to go and look back at what the Dallas Stars have drafted and how far down some of their players that are really good players, that's basically one of the main key reasons that they chose Mark Leach.
And I mean, obviously he's not responsible solely for all of those picks. However, another interesting tidbit on that front is that when Jim Nill, both Jim Nill and Mark Leach were part of the Detroit Red Wings organization. So if you want to go even further back, you can look at the people that, both of those guys were involved in drafting for those Stanley Cup winning Detroit teams. But when Jim Nill left to become the Dallas Stars GM, one of the key person he brought with him, Mark Leach. Okay. So that actually says something, with how well he's thought of. I mean, he's not a young guy. He's very experienced, and he has put together and been part of the team that put together excellent teams in Detroit and now Dallas. So
So, Brad
and for sure,
Treliving.
Dallas has gotten a lot farther in the playoffs recently than the Leafs have. So,
yeah. And Brad Treliving continues to round out his staff basically for his choosing, basically, to be a part of his team. Yeah. So that's good. All right. So back to the ice now. And in more recent news, the Marlies signed forward Alex Nylander. Wonder what name that is. Signed Alex Nylander to a 1-year AHL contract. Of course, we all know Alex is the younger brother of Leafs forward William Nylander. So what did you think about this? Everybody is quite excited about it, actually, when I've been reading some of the stuff.
Well, I think from what I've read, it seems like a no-brainer signing, especially the fact that they signed him to the AHL contract, because that means that he doesn't have to go through waivers. So that's really brilliant. If he does make a name for himself on the team, then obviously you're laughing. He could usurp a couple of different people on the team.
Yeah.
Potentially. He's had a tough go. But I think the Leafs believe in their development team, and, we'll see what happens, but he finished off the season really well in Columbus last year. So, I think they're hoping that he can, build on that and, basically fight for a job in camp, because he will get that camp invite.
Yeah.
Again, it's just funny though, like all the things that people say about him, it's the same things that we complain about Willie for, which is,
they're really,
this point, is the consistency, but they're really close. So
yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Hopefully they've always pushed each other growing up. So that could also be a good thing.
Yeah. So apparently though, Alex Nylander, he had other options to choose from. And they say it was his older brother, William, that kind of said to him, give this opportunity a chance. So apparently Willie had a voice in it, and they are, like you said, really tight as brothers. Obviously you would expect that. And apparently like every summer like they're always working out. They're always like together doing everything. Right. So, I mean, we see it all over the place. So that's, one reason. Yeah. And, I mean,
it's a no risk move for the club for sure.
Yeah.
And for him as well.
Yeah. And he's 26 years old. He had 11 goals, 4 assists in 23 games with the Columbus Blue Jackets.
Finishing the season with a hat trick, his first ever.
Oh, yeah. All right. Well, that's even better. So,
yeah.
No. And, by signing him to an AHL contract, the Leafs, they're saying like they can evaluate him a little bit more, without taking up an NHL contract spot right now.
Yep.
So, yeah. And
so it's basically he's going to have to prove himself. But you know what? That's not a bad thing to have fire lit under you like that.
And it might not be bad for Willie to have his little brother around too. So,
I mean, I don't know. That could work for or against you. It's potential. I know. We all have brothers and sisters. So
true.
Anyway. All right.
Yes.
So now we're halfway through patio season. And so what do we think of what Brad Treliving has done to reshape the Leafs so far? Like personally, my feeling is that I don't remember an off season in recent years that has been so quiet. It's been like crickets out there. I don't know what they're working on in the background, or if they're just trying to lay low because they just don't want to hear that, external noise from Leafs Nation. But I don't know. What do you think? It's been very, very quiet. They've done a lot of work in the background. Obviously,
that's the thing.
Pulling together his team, his personal team. You got to start somewhere, right? So anyway,
he's actually done a lot, but like you said, within the July and August, basically, or start of August now, it's been nothing. You haven't heard anything. It's crickets, like you said. But I mean, when you go through it, like he hired his own coach now, Craig Berube. He signed Chris Tanev and Oliver Ekman-Larsson with free agency. He signed Max Domi and Joseph Wall to the extensions, and Liljegren. And he signed also backup what we think is going to be, or the 1B, I guess, Anthony Stolarz for the goaltending. And the most recent signing is Connor Dewar. He avoided arbitration. I mean, it's a fourth line player, but still, he's part of the whole situation that the bottom six situation, we'll get into it as with the next episode, but it's quite interesting when you see some of the stuff that could happen, I guess. And then the only questions really are this Jani Hakanpää signing that.
Yeah. And did you see the pictures of him at the event that he was in wearing a Dallas jersey?
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't bode too well for the fact that I don't know why they don't actually,
just come out and say it then, that it's like he's either not, like the contract's not going to go through because they found something in his medical history. Yeah.
I don't know, but maybe it's for the players' benefit that they're not putting anything out there yet, to give him a chance to rehab a little bit more.
Yeah. He's not listed anywhere on the roster or anything like that. No. So, and we were, I know I was pretty excited being like with the size.
But the thing is, if the guy is hurt like that, then he's not going to be able to play the brand of hockey that we need him to play specifically. Right.
And we don't need more salary cap issues that way too, right? And so I guess that's one question as to what happens there. But the other question, I guess, is Nick Robertson as well. Yeah. What happens with him?
And that's actually why it's also key that they got Alex Nylander, because he's sort of like his backup, depending on what happens with Robertson, I think.
Yeah. And then I guess the defense, I mean, yes, he has Chris Tanev and Oliver Ekman-Larsson, but there are these rumors with Liljegren as to what's going to happen with him and what's coming in the system, which we talked about from development camp with Topi Numila and others that could technically help our salary cap situation by coming up and playing at like their entry level contracts, that sort of thing. So
preseason is going to be really, really key this year.
Yeah.
To answer a lot of questions.
Yeah. But overall, I mean, it's been okay what he's done. I mean, it's nothing. And of course, we haven't mentioned his name at all. It's a surprise. Mitch Marner. That is not going to go away. And it's pretty definite that he's going to be a Leaf starting the season, which I don't mind at all. That's
even fine. Though, I mean, there's still people that are having the rumors about, this is the latest trade potential thing that they heard through the grapevine.
Oh yeah.
I don't know. Somebody said Leafs Insider. I saw this Leafs Insider and I got hooked to it. Stupid me.
Actually, and it was like that.
And it was Stu Grimson. I'm like, really? He's a Leafs Insider? I don't think so. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyways. Yeah. Yeah. And, but, anyways, we'll see how it goes. I like what he's done so far. And as we get into later in August, I guess we'll see what happens. Maybe there'll be hopefully some other news to chat about to start September.
Yeah, because right now, like I find it's very unsettling, this quietness around Leafs, around the Leafs right now. It's I don't know. It makes me uncomfortable. Anyway.
All right. Well, it is patio season, so maybe that's why it's quiet. Brad is enjoying a beer on the patio or enjoying his barbecues, beers, whatever.
Now's the time.
And we've seen on social media some players having quite the time this summer. Let's roll the patio season edition of the Ladies Talking Leafs highlight reel.
All right. So coming in at number 3, we have Ryan Reeves. He made a fashion statement at the wedding of Adam Fox, who is a former Rangers teammate. He did wear a really crisp white shirt for the event, but for a photo booth session, he went shirtless, tarps off, which, we know NHL players tend to like to do at weddings for some reason. And he wore sunglasses as an accessory. So he sure looked like he was ready for the patio.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, it's been pretty quiet on social media too. But Ryan Reeves, I mean, he always is a presence everywhere. But
I think he and Max Domi have been working out too a little bit recently on the ice. So I hope that they do some more of their little vignettes of, getting out and exploring Ontario, which I liked last year that they did.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Okay. So coming in at number 2, we have David Kampf. From what we've read about David Kampf, he's has the title of being the fittest Leaf throughout the off season. So he doesn't take any time off when it comes to the meals and working out and that. So
I'm hoping he didn't run any marathons this summer, though. I think that took a little too much out of him last off season. So
yeah. But Austria seems to be a favorite place for him, and his recent Instagram post with a beautiful background of the mountains puts him at number 2 on our highlight reel. His choice of where he chooses to do his workouts during patio season is very impressive. I think he likes Austria. He was there last year too.
Well, and I mean, where he's from, I know a little bit about this because my family background is Hungary. All of those countries, they're not that huge. They're all really close together. So it's like for him to go to Austria, like my dad used to do that too. Just hop on over there to go for a visit. It's like for us to go to, cottage country. It's not that far. So, so I'm not surprised that he would want to go there. And of course, it's a beautiful place to enjoy some outdoor workouts.
Yeah. Yeah. So he definitely, cause he was there last year. I'm sure I saw some really nice pictures. Anyhow. Yeah. And who do we have at number 1?
So our top spot in our patio season highlight reel this time around goes to Max Domi, and he is definitely the most prolific social media poster. Like the post that he had for his signing was legendary. I don't think anybody is going to ever be able to beat that. Right down to, putting his face on there too, the deep fake. That was amazing. Anyway, by far, Max has had the most posts telling fans what he's been up to this summer, from his travels to Italy to trying out a new sport, archery, to introducing us to his new kitty cat, Hugh. Max is definitely enjoying patio season for sure. And I love in between all of that, he's posting his workouts and his on ice, work. That is like, to me, the best work that Treliving has done this summer, is getting him in full time. He looks so comfortable now that he has a permanent home for a few years. And there's no doubt this is where he's meant to be. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he does this year now that he has some stability also.
Yeah, no, I love his posts, seeing him. He has so many different stories too on there on Instagram that he's put, but I'm a little bit disappointed in Austin. I thought, I haven't really seen too much from Austin Matthews.
He had that one,
he normally likes to show a little.
But he had the one post where he did do like a photo dump of stuff that he's been doing. Went to UFC. He's been hanging out with Clayton Keller a little bit, which is interesting. I guess they probably trained together.
I don't know. Maybe I've missed some of them, maybe because then I guess maybe I've been paying attention too much to Max Domi. And he's more interesting, right? And then of course
it hasn't been as prolific. That's for darn sure.
Yeah. And I mean, Willie has had a few in there, obviously. And he's Willie Styles, right? So
exactly. And he's had a few recently, but they were also all at Michael Bunting's wedding. So there was pictures from that. It's nice that they're all still buddies.
Wow. So many weddings.
Yeah.
I think that.
Well, this is the time, right? When are they going to do it? It has to be done in the summer.
Yeah, but it seems over the top, or I've seen just so many this summer.
Yeah, that and the engagements. It's interesting that the NHL posts these things, and they recognize that there's a demand, a taste for this stuff, with hockey, following hockey players in this way. And I mean, we don't get to see a lot of their off season. So, it's kind of cool to see, them celebrating these, milestones in their lives. Right.
Yeah.
So
it's nice to get to know them a little bit more, what they're doing from, in their lives and behind the scenes. It's nice.
All right, so now we're going to get back to some more serious talk for our third period segment. We're going to go around the league and highlight a few of the big changes that are coming to the NHL for the 24-25 season.
So every season brings change, obviously, and we will see a lot of changes behind the bench. And as of right now, there'll be 8 teams who will have new bench bosses. Of course, the Leafs are one of them, with Craig Berube, the new head coach of the Leafs. And also the New Jersey Devils, of course, have a new head coach. We all know is Sheldon Keefe, our former coach. The other notable coaching changes for the Atlantic Division are Travis Green taking over the Ottawa Senators and Lindy Ruff getting a second time round in Buffalo. So we'll have to ask our LTL insider Mike about that one.
Yeah.
And when we have him on next.
Yeah, I'm interested in hearing what he thinks about that one.
Yeah. But
I think overall the amount of changes might be a little less. Like last summer, I remember that was a real coaching carousel. There was a lot of teams switched up their coaching. But that just goes to show you the parity in the league, that no one's taking anything for granted these days. And the coach is the first area where you can make an impact. So I'm not surprised that, everybody wants to win, or you need to at least see that, consistent improvement year over year. And when you're not getting that, something's got to be done, right?
Yeah. And in Ottawa, I don't know how many coaching changes they've had, but wait till Travis Green is a hard ass coach. So it's going to be interesting to see what the Senators, players, how they take his, approach to that. But they, like you said, they want to win too, right? And, one of those teams in the Atlantic Division, whether it be Ottawa, Buffalo, or Detroit, one of those three teams has got to get going, to either be at least remotely close to the playoffs or be in the playoffs. So yeah, it'll be,
it's going to be really tight, a lot more tight in the Atlantic. I think the difference between teams. So yeah, the Leafs definitely have to make a push. And, because I don't really, as much as you would try to expect that maybe Boston should start taking a step back, probably still not going to happen.
No.
Especially with they still are going to have good goaltending. But there's players on that team that aren't getting any younger. I don't know. I just wonder what's going to happen with Tampa this year, which takes us to our next, thing, which is another big change on the ice that we'll be seeing, in the fact that Steven Stamkos will be wearing the blue and gold of the Nashville Predators instead of the blue and white of the Tampa Bay Lightning. And I saw some pictures from his first photo shoot, and man, did it look weird. So I don't know. I definitely, Nashville got better. We've already talked about that in a previous show, that we really figure that they won free agency so far, at least on paper. But what do you think of that? I just think that's just going to be so odd. And that leaves a huge hole for Tampa. And I don't know how they're going to fill that.
I was sad for him in a way, because I saw his article too in the Players Tribune that he wrote to the Tampa fans. And he talks about how the treatment, I guess, he got from Julian Brisebois and the management team. And it just didn't seem right. Like that loyalty that he gave them initially when he signed way back when there was the whole thing that he could go to the Leafs, and there was that whole signing with the endorsements with the Leafs and Canadian Tire or some stuff that was going on then.
But then Yzerman was still the GM then, though, right?
Yeah. But he showed, I guess, he just said, no, he's not coming home. He really loved it down in Tampa, and he really thought something special was going to happen, which it did. He got the 2 Stanley Cups. And then for them to, and he's the captain, and for them to kind of just say, give him, I don't know, I think it was
they really lowballed him. It's it was $3 million for 8 years or something.
8 years,
like that.
I think it was. Yeah, something ridiculous like that. When the guy had 40 goals last year.
Yeah,
right.
That's more than a $3 million player.
Yeah, and yes, he's had his injuries and that, but I don't know. I kind of felt bad for him, but it's a new chapter. Right. And,
well, it's probably going to reinvigorate him even that much more. You've got something to prove for a new team like that. Yeah. So
one thing I will mention just came to me. Finally, there's a Macedonian show. He's Macedonian background. His family is. There's a Macedonian show on Saturday afternoons, and they had a commercial of Steven Stamkos from when he got drafted for so many years. And he looked like a 12-year-old kid, promoting Mastoian show, basically. And that finally they got it updated. And he's actually like, it's him now, thankfully, promoting the Mastoian show. And he's actually, they even have the team right. They have him in the like Nashville colors.
Oh, wow.
Wow. After like 20 years of seeing him on a commercial, being 12 years old, finally the Mastoian show has got him to update that for him. I mean, they could have done this, I think, much earlier, but
well, I mean, that, to me, that speaks to the fact that, you know, it probably changed his perspective too a little bit on how fleeting some of these things are. You know, what things that you expect, you know, for your future, that you're going to retire with one team. You know, maybe he's like, you know what, it's time to give back to the people that supported me all along. And that's a big part of it, is that his community, his Macedonian community, has always been super supportive of him.
For sure.
And he's always active with them. Yeah. And he's active with them throughout the summer, you know, back here. So I think that definitely what he's been through this summer probably played a part in him realizing, you know, where his allegiances really should lie. And that's with the people who've backed him from the beginning. Right.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm sure he'll be interesting to see his first game when he goes back to Tampa. That'll be different, but,
I'm sure a lot of people will be watching for that game
for sure. All right. But there's nothing bigger than changing a team's location. And the league is hoping that Utah is going to be a lot more successful franchise than the Arizona Coyotes. So I don't know. Bill Armstrong has been making the rounds. That's been keeping me busy listening to him on the sports radio networks in Toronto. Bill Armstrong, a GM of Utah, he just seems to be on the radio all the time, talking, I guess, promoting the Utah Hockey Club. That's what
kind of wonder, you know, if they would have done this much promotion with Arizona, maybe they would still be there.
Yes, but ownership there was basically the issue.
And I guess that is the thing. And I know that the owner, Ryan Smith, the guy who owns Utah, he is the real deal. Like, I think I mentioned before, he reminds me a lot of Mark Cuban when he came into the NBA. So this guy, no wonder Bill Armstrong's having so much fun going around and promoting the team, because they're giving him carte blanche to do that and probably really encouraging him to get out there and talk about the team. So,
yeah. And they've made some big, obviously getting Sergachev, again, another Tampa Bay Lightning player. They drafted TJ Ginla. So that's something. He's a young kid, but still they've drafted him, and they also drafted, they picked up John Marino in free agency from, which is a really good solid D-man from New Jersey. So, this year though, I actually just read recently, I guess they had 6 finalists for the new team nickname. So they're going to go by Utah Hockey Club this year, but the voting ended sometime in June, I guess.
Did you vote?
No, I didn't even know about this until... Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You should have told me, but who did you...
I thought for sure that you were on top of this.
I don't care about Utah. We're not... I don't think
I still wanted to have my say, regardless.
Although the players, like when they went to visit there, like they showed them getting off the plane and for the first time, and I saw Alex Kerfoot was there, one of our former Leafs, of course. And they seemed very excited. Like,
I think they're going to get treated really well there. I think it's going to be top of the line, everything for these guys.
Yeah. So going back to the nickname though. So there's the Outlaws, Yeti, Mammoth, Venom, and Blizzard.
Yep.
So my pick would be the Yeti. I like
that
the Yeti.
That was my first choice, but I also like the Outlaws just because of the history and everything, and you know, Westerns and all of that. I thought that was actually would be a really cool nickname, and you could do some pretty cool things with the logo and stuff with that. But yeah, Yeti, I think, was my first choice. Yeah. It rolls off the tongue, I think, pretty nicely.
Call Yeti. Yeah. Yeah. But the fans have been waiting though, because I don't know when they're going to actually say who.
You know, this is kind of the dog days of the summer. So my guess is maybe they're going to have a little bit more fanfare around this, maybe in season, once the games are going on, and there's more attention on the club.
Probably when the Leafs go there, right?
Likely, because they know they'll have the most eyeballs.
Yeah. But anyways, so that's going to be definitely interesting to have a new team. Well, somewhat new team, I guess.
A new old team.
New old team. All right. So before we go, some good news from Joe Bowen, confirming that he and Jim Ralph will be back calling Leaf games in October. I don't know. I thought he was. I don't know. I thought they were going to be back, but then
I think they're just doing the year-to-year thing right now. I don't know. It's just stupid to me. I think they should probably be doing. I think most people think they should be doing TV also, but Anyway, I think it's still a couple years, I guess, but once things sort of change with the whole agreement with the NHL and Sportsnet, we could see some changes there. Like, wouldn't it be interesting, because Amazon's getting more involved in picking up these games? Wouldn't it be cool if Amazon hired Jim Ralph and Joe Bowen to do Leaf games?
Yeah, that would be interesting. They should be on doing the TV games for sure.
Yeah, and why can't we have a Homer broadcast just because we're the Leafs? Like, that to me is stupid.
Yeah.
So anyway, with Keith Pelly too, like we talked about this with Damian Cox a bit. If they go more towards having their own TV package, then they can have whatever. And I wouldn't be surprised if they go more towards, like Joe and Jim to do those games.
Right? And speaking of Sportsnet too, you mentioned that I think there is going to be, there's apparently some big changes going to be happening there. So we'll see what.
Well, they better, because it's been pretty meh for the last few years. So they're losing a lot of ground to TSN. TSN's a much more fun broadcast to watch, by far. I think there's definitely work to be done there. So anyway, we have just over a month before the fun begins again. And our next episode will be our anniversary episode in September. So we want to thank you for listening and listening to and watching Ladies Talking Leafs all these years, and for getting us to what will be our 6th season covering the Leafs for you. So hit that follow button or subscribe button wherever you listen to our show, and you won't miss an episode.
You can also find us on the Believe Network at Believe.com. That's BLEAV.com. And as mentioned off the top, you can watch the show on YouTube, where we also have a ton of videos from games we've attended at Scotiabank Arena and from road trips that we've gone on to follow our team. So again, hit subscribe button and you won't miss an episode, and you won't miss anything when it comes to the Leafs. At the same time, please consider leaving us a rating or review. It's so easy on Apple and Spotify, and it's important for our show to get recognized as a source for Leafs content, and we thank you for taking the time.
And another way to help us out is by visiting our Ko-fi page at Ko-fi.com. You can follow us there. And if you choose to support us, you can buy us a coffee. Any donation goes towards helping us produce the show and making it even better for you. You can find the link to our Ko-fi page on our show notes or in any of our social media profile pages.
And as always, we want to say thanks to our healthcare workers and first responders for everything that they do.
And we thank you as always for listening to and watching Ladies Talking Leafs, presented by Bet Online. Till next time, go Leafs,
go.
And go Canada, go.
Yes.
Do you believe?